Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, What's New in Excel with MrExcel. The webinar is sponsored by More for Apps. My name is Stephanie DiPaolo, and I will be your moderator for this event, and I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today. I have with me today Bill Jelen. Bill is the host of MrExcel.com and the author of 64 books about Microsoft Excel, including Excel Gurus Gone Wild, Pivot Table Data Crunching, and Excel Inside Out. He has made over 80 guest appearances on TV's Call for Help with Leo Laporte and was voted Guest of the Year on the Computer America radio show. He has produced over 2,400 episodes of his Excel video podcast, Learn Excel from MrExcel. Before founding MrExcel.com in 1998, Jelen spent 12 years in the trenches as a financial analyst for the accounting, finance, marketing, and operations departments of a publicly held company. Before we get started, I'd like to review a few items with you first. Make sure you save the date for our upcoming MrExcel webinars as part of our More for Academy series. The times for these webinars will vary in order to accommodate our customers in different regions of the world. We'll be sending out more communications on these as we work out the details. Next, let's cover the housekeeping items. Audio is available by dialing the number provided. If you're having any issues, please let us know and we'll try to assist you. If you have any questions, we ask that you reserve them for the end of the webinar using the Q&A panel, and we'll respond at the end. At the conclusion of this webinar, there will be a few survey questions about your webinar experience, and we'd appreciate your participation. Finally, you will receive the slides and recording from today's webinar within the next 24 hours. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or your account manager. And as a reminder, you must complete 3 out of 4 of our live poll questions during this webinar today in order to receive your CPE credit. Bill will be emailing them to you directly within 1 week of this webinar. Now a little bit about More for Apps to those who are not our customers. More for Apps started in 2000 by a group of Oracle consultants in search of a better way to load and manage data from a spreadsheet directly connected to Oracle ERP. Now, 21 years later, we offer nearly 30 out-of-the-box wizards built specifically for Oracle eBusiness Suite and Cloud ERP with real-time error validation and tight security. More for Apps is a market leader offering 24/7 global support coverage for 400 plus customers and 34,000 plus end users. We aim to improve operational efficiencies, productivity, and accuracy of data entry. And if you have any questions at all, or would like to request a custom demonstration, please go to our website or email inquiry@moreforapps.com or contact your account manager directly. All right, and with that, I will hand it back to you, Bill.
All right, Stephanie, we are going to have some fun today going through what's new in Excel. It's great to be here, and I appreciate everyone who took time out of their day to sign in and listen today. As Stephanie mentioned, we'll have 4 CPE questions as we go through. They'll kind of be spread out, and you just need to answer, so we know you're there. All right, so we're going to get started off with my favorite topic of all time, pivot tables. But what's new in pivot tables that it's changed over the years is the ability to create pivot table defaults, right? So here I have a data set, and if I want to create a pivot table from this, usually we go to insert pivot table, and they offer to put it on a new worksheet. I'll let that go. Actually, no, let's go to an existing worksheet and put it off here to the right. Keep everything nice and compact today. All right, so we have our pivot table fields over on the right-hand side. That's the fields pane, and you might notice that mine is probably starting out in a different orientation than yours. And I actually learned this from Howie Dickerman at Microsoft, who's in charge of pivot tables today. He hadn't been when the pivot table field list got designed. He said, you know, we really made a mistake here when we originated the pivot tables in this area with the field list at the top and then filters, columns, rows, and values. He says, I've decided if I could go back in time, I would have changed it to this. And I tried it, and it's really nice because that way, if you have 20, 25 fields, they all fit here, and it's still easy to see the 4 values, that little gear box there. And once you change it, it'll stay that way forever. All right, so I'm going to build a little report here with customer revenue. Across the top, we'll put products or something like that. So there's my pivot table. And then I'm going to do something that is really annoying with the default settings, but you'll see that it's not so annoying here. I'm going to take the sector field and add a second row field. Second row field. Oh, I put it in the wrong spot. That's okay. Second row field right there. And you'll notice on my version of Excel, sector appears in column K and customer appears in column L. And that's different. Back in Excel 2007, they came up with, hang on. Oh, this is funny. Hey, Stephanie, I need to hide the zoom thing at the top. Is there a way to do that? Or move it?
Yeah, Bill, you can drag it to the other computer screen or lower.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. That's beautiful. All right. Hey, I'm
There you
Mr.
go.
Excel. I'm new to Zoom. All right. So here on the Analyze.
worries.
Thanks, Stephanie. Thanks.
Sure.
All right. On the Analyze tab, actually the Design tab, the Pivot Table Design tab, ever since Excel 2007, they had invented this compact form. And I despise compact form. This is absolutely terrible. Like, what were they thinking, putting sector and customer all in the same column, right? So every single time that I would ever create a pivot table, I would always go to the Design tab, go to Report Layout, and choose tabular form or outline form. For me, it was tabular form that felt the most like it felt back in Excel 2003, that gets each item into its own column. The other thing that I would do is turn off this setting here, where they kind of put it in an outline view. They put the word manufacturing once and then a whole bunch of blank cells. You know, sooner or later, this is going to get copied and pasted as values. And I want to be able to sort the data, and having all those blanks there is not really good. So I always turn those features back on. Well, a couple years ago for Microsoft 365 or in Excel 2019, they now have this awesome new feature. If we go to File and Options, File Options, and you know that you have the feature if along the left-hand side here, you have this third category called data. This category was brand new. And it's funny, all of these things on data had been somewhere else. They'd been on advanced, except for the top button, which is make changes to the default layout of pivot tables. So we go into edit default layout, and right up here at the top, I can say show in tabular form instead of compact form, which is, you know, just a great improvement. And then right here, repeat all item labels. Now, this is actually a feature that I lobbied for 6 years through 4 different project managers, long before Howie. There was a whole litany of people that I asked for, and some just rejected flat out, and others said, oh, we're not sure that there's enough interest in this. And finally, a fellow named Ash said, look, we're going to send you out to our feedback site. You write up your idea and we'll see how many votes we get. And I had almost 1,000 votes for this. And so they did it. And what I love is they did it even better than I asked for. They said, if we're going to allow people to set their pivot table defaults, we're going to allow them to set defaults for almost everything. So if you click on pivot table options, you know, I know some people turn off autofit column widths on update. I always turn on for empty cells, show 0. That way you don't have the blank cells in there. I've run into people that love the classic pivot table layout. That's the old layout where you could drag the fields right into the grid, right? And you can turn that back on for all future pivot tables, right? So it just takes, you know, 2 minutes, file options data to get in here and choose tabular form. If you agree with me that compact form is just terrible, and, you know, repeat all item labels and do any other things that you like to do for your pivot tables. And then the next time you create a pivot table, it will automatically be in this view. The one thing we still can't change, and it's so funny, like why this didn't make it, is the pivot table always starts out in general. Even if the underlying data was in currency with 2 decimal places, it's always in general. So we want to right click a number and go to number format. You're still going to have to do that, which, you know, it's just, it's funny. Like why, you know, why is that a thing? The other thing that, and this one actually confuses me, I don't know how they managed to pull this off. They added this in, and it's really curious. Let's take manufacturing of XYZ. If I go in here, right click and format cells. So in the pivot table, format cells, and I add some fill there, maybe like a red fill or something like that, which is gonna look horrible. No, that looks okay. What's funny is somehow I've set up a rule now that all manufacturing XYZ will be in red, even if I rearrange the pivot table, right? So if I take the product field and drag it inside of sector, you see that the manufacturing XYZ is still there. And then even if I add customers in, so now we're gonna have multiple manufacturing XYZs, they all get formatted in red. And I wonder, like, where are they storing this? How is this getting stored? I've even looked in the VBA macro recorder to try and figure out what they're doing. And it's not clear to me how they managed to store this information, but it's cool, not well documented. And so check that one out. All right. So to change pivot table defaults, we're going to go into File, Options, and then Data, and then choose defaults for all future pivot tables. Now, as Stephanie mentioned, if you want CPE, they make us do 4 polling questions here. And so I'm going to launch the first poll. Look for it somewhere on your Zoom screen, right? And the question is, where can you change pivot table defaults? The choices are File, Options, Advanced, File, Options, Data, File, Options, Ease of Access, or File, Options, and the Trust Center. All right, this is great. I'll wait till we get about 80% of the folks that have found it. And again, if you don't need CPE credit, you don't have to answer these unless you're just trying to kill some time here until we get on to the next topic, which is going to be about the new amazing spillable dynamic array formulas. All right, looks like just about everyone is getting the right answer. And we're just right about it at 80%. All right, so we'll end the poll here. Share the results. So the correct answer is File, Options, Data. And again, it's not important here that you get the right answer. We just need to see that you were there and jumped in and answered, get 3 out of the 4, and that'll qualify for the 1 hour of CPE. All right, new dynamic array formulas, which are amazing. We've had array formulas in the past, and some of you, there's always one person. Like if you have 40 people in accounting, there's one person who knows this weird trick where you'd hold down Control Shift and press Enter, and it created a formula that was so hard, like it worked, but no one else could ever edit what was happening there. And just kind of crazy. So they've given us a new ability that one formula will spill to multiple cells. No more Control Shift Enter. You won't ever have to remember that. They've given us some great new intuitive functions: sort by, filter, unique, rand array, which is great for Monte Carlo analysis. And then the one that seems like it's super weak is the sequence function, but it might not be as weak as it seems. All right, so here's our first example. I have a little table over here with data from A4 to B16, and I'm going to do something that normally would be not valid in Excel. This would be an error, or you might get the top left corner cell, or you might get something that intersects. Actually, because it's 2 columns, it probably would have been an error. But now that one formula is able to spill multiple results, right? And the formula only lives in the top left corner cell. So that formula lives in cell E8. And if I look anywhere else, the formula appears in the formula bar, but it's grayed out, right? So the only place where I can edit the formula is in the top left corner cell. And this required a massive rewrite of the Excel calculation engine. They were going back to code that hadn't been touched in 30 years in order to do this. It was a massive, massive change. So here I'm going to get just the numbers. So here we have all of these numbers. And what's cool is if this data over here is a table, so Control T to make it into a table, and then we add someone new, the data over on the right will automatically expand with the new data, right? So it's able to shrink or grow, provided your data is stored in a table. All right, now that introduces something that could be a problem. What if I put a formula up here in M8 and that formula doesn't have enough room to spill? Like there's other stuff in the way. So I'll copy this formula here, Control C and paste. And rather than get any answers at all, you would think they might give you 114, 798, 338, and then allow the rest of your stuff to be there. But instead, they want you to be aware right away that there's a problem. And so a new error type that we've never had before called hash spill, the spill error with a little exclamation point at the end. And if you open this little drop down here, it says that the spill range isn't blank. If you select the obstructing cells, those are the 3 problem cells, the stuff in the way. And as soon as I would clear those or delete those, then my spill formula, oh, what is going on there? I didn't have a dollar sign. That's so funny. I should have put dollar signs in there. Okay, my bad. Wasn't being careful there. So dollar signs and then copy that over. All right, there we go. So there's our same answers. All right, so this is great. One formula can spill multiple results, which really allows them to start creating a whole lot of new functions. The day that this came out, they gave us sort, filter, and unique. But then since then, the new XLOOKUP, and they're coming out with even more functions. Some that I've seen that'll be out in a month or so. Okay, now here's the really interesting thing. I have an array here. This is an array in J8. And if I would just simply point to J8, so equal J8, all they're going to do is give me the top left corner cell. But if I want to get all of the answers referred to by that array in J8, then what I would do is I would say equal J8 hash. The hash, that's a brand new operator. You've seen the dollar signs in formulas before. Well, this is a new way to say, hey, there's something in J8, and I want you to go get all of those items. And so then when I equal sum that, they will give me the total of all of the cells in that blue box there. All right, so it's kind of a it's kind of a cool way to refer to everything in the array. Right, it's the hashtag, which here in the United States we would call it a number sign or a pound sign. I have to be careful, for anyone in England, they're like, that's not a pound sign, it's a hash. Once on one of my YouTube videos, I called it a hashtag, and I got an angry email from Germany. It's not a hashtag, it's a hash. All right, so J8 hash. J8 hash. All right. We're going to take a look at the other new functions they gave us. Remember that hash sign, though, because that might come up in our near future. New functions they gave us: sort, filter, and unique. All right. And look, if it's you or me creating this report for our own use, and we needed to sort this descending by score, that would be super easy for us, right? We just come back here to the data tab, choose one cell in the score column. On the data tab, click Z to A. This wasn't made for us. This is made for the people consuming our reports. Imagine if you're creating a report for your manager's manager, right? So this is the CFO, and you say, hey, I built this beautiful dashboard for you. I just have a request. It's going to update the data every day, right? I have queries to update the data, but I need you to come in each day and open and come back to the spreadsheet and choose one cell here. And then on the data tab, click Z to A. My CFO, there's no way. Like, this was never going to happen, right? So now we can take control over this, and we can sort on the fly using a formula, all right? So I'm sorting A4 to C16. Which do I want to sort by? I want to sort by the score. That's the third column of the table. And then I can either sort ascending, which is a 1, or descending, which is a -1. So I'll choose -1. And then there's an optional fourth argument there that would let you sort the columns, which is very rare. Hardly anyone ever does that, but at least they put it there, right? So now the data comes back. All of the data over here is now automatically sorted. And what's beautiful is if the underlying data changes, right? So Stephanie will take you from 270 to 1270. And right now, Stephanie is second from the last. After I change that, Stephanie moves up to the top of the dashboard, right? So you don't have to worry about sorting or anything like that. All right, now, tomorrow, Stephanie is sending out a link to everything, and included in that link is a PDF copy of my book, MrExcel 2021. And in that book, there are variations on the sort, like how to do a 2-column sort, how to sort by score, but only show the names. And things like that. So check out the book for more details on sort. Next up, and this is one that has become amazingly useful as time has gone by since it came out. We've discovered all kinds of great things that we can do with the filter function. Yesterday, someone was trying to do a VLOOKUP where it could return 2 results, not numerical results, text results. And after talking about it a little bit, everyone said, "Oh, wait, we could do it. We could do this with a filter." The filter could go get both of those. And then we could even take those results and send them into text join to have it come back as a single cell. Right, so all kinds of interesting uses that we found here for filter. The way that it works, we say that we want to filter this data set. And notice we don't include the headings, right? You have to bring those headings over yourself. What are we looking for? We're looking for the data in column B to be equal to blue, and I'm going to put that in quotes, and that's it. We can just close. And there's all of the blue records. Now, what would make this better is that instead of hard coding the blue, we put a little cell up there where you can choose blue or red. All right, so I'll do that again, equal filter, all of this data where the team is equal to, and this time I'm going to press F4 when I click on that red cell, so K1, close paren. So now I get all of the red, and you see that at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 results. But if I would choose blue, then I get 6 results, right? So the fact that the size of the array changes doesn't matter at all. Now, what if I choose something that doesn't exist? Then we're going to get a brand new error that we've never seen before called the calc error. It's real interesting the way that they say the calc error. The calc error says that we can't come up with an answer today, which says that they're thinking about in the future supporting empty arrays. That's the problem. We're getting an empty array and they don't know how to display that. Someday in the future, maybe they will. All right, so there's an optional third argument here called if empty. And I can say, not found or something like that. All right, so that kind of, actually I would say not found, choose again. Check your spelling. All right, and then if we would type blue, it comes back. I should have had data validation up there in K1 to make sure that they don't manage to do something wrong like that. So sort, filter, and then unique. Oh, unique. This is one that opened up a whole interesting controversy. Interesting. Well, it's only interesting to us. It's only interesting to the people who would sign in to watch Excel tricks for an hour, would find this interesting. The word unique is treated different ways within Excel, right? So if I had you all here in a room and I said, with this range, apple, apple, banana, cherry, cherry, what's the unique list of products? 90% of you would agree with me that that unique list of products is apple, banana, cherry, right? I've done this in many rooms. It's always apple, banana, cherry. But then someone way in the back, row 9, if there's 10 rows, they're in row 9 and they're on the left-hand side so they can easily escape. They raise their hand and say, wait, I don't agree with you. And I'm always just like this fake shock, right? But I know it's going to happen there in every single room. They're like, that's not the unique list of products. The unique list of products is banana. And I'm like, what? What do you mean it's banana? And they're like, yeah, that's the only one that occurs once. And I always think to myself, who cares? Jeff Bezos will never come to you and say, hey, what are the products we've only sold one of, right? Like, why would anyone want to know the things that have occurred once? So here's the awesome thing. If we just do equal unique, no additional parameters, they give us apple, banana, cherry. But if you're one of those people, they're usually SQL Server people, to be honest, who want the things that occur exactly once, there's an optional third argument here that says return the items that appear exactly once. Those people who think that banana is unique say that this is a distinct list. Right? And so what the great news is there's some controversy, but the people on the Excel team decided to do it either way. They support either one. All right. And then two kind of less impressive functions here. And to me, it's less impressive. If you have the word Monday and grab the fill handle and drag, they fill in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? But most people don't know that if you have the 1, grab the fill handle, you get 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And I know this great trick that if you hold down the control key, that changes to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So to me, I don't need a special way to create the numbers 1 to 10. And when I saw the sequence function come along, equals sequence of 10, I said, oh, well, this is for the people who don't know to hold down the control key when you need to generate the numbers 1 through 10 and you grab the fill handle. Now, sequence has a few extra little tricks here. So I can do equal sequence. I want 10 rows, 7 columns, starting at 17, jumping by 3, right? And you can generate this huge sequence of numbers, right? But I'm still always not positive what I'm going to do with that. Also related is equal rand array, which we ask for 10 rows, just 10 random numbers. We get 10 decimals like that. But again, with the optional arguments, 10 rows, 1 column, anywhere from 11 to 99, and I only want integers. So that will generate what rand between would get us, right? So sequence and rand array. But here's what I've discovered. Sort, filter, unique, it made a big splash and everyone was really excited about those. But then as we get deep into Excel and we have problems. Like here's a standard amortization table, which a lot of you have created. You know, even if you're just buying a car, you create this for yourself. You know, the amount financed, and you have the payment function here. And then down here in the amortization table, we're using a pair of functions called P payment for principal and I payment for interest. And the weird thing about these functions is you have to have somewhere on the spreadsheet which period you want, which means that for this loan, 180 period loan, we have to put 180 rows of data in order to figure out the principal and interest for each period. Well, this is pretty wild. So let's just take a look at this interest formula here. We're taking the rate divided by 12. We're saying period 1. This is the term. This is the principal. Well, check out what I've done over here. Here's the I payment function, same rate, but now when I ask for what period, I say, hey, I want 12 rows, 1 column, starting with the number 1 and jumping by 1, right? And what that does, that right there generates an array of 12 numbers. And lo and behold, the I payment function has the secret ability to generate 12 answers. Now, I don't want them spilling down the spreadsheet, so I send the whole thing into the sum. But I've started to realize that the sequence function is a great way to replace this 180 row table with just, you know, how much interest I have to book each year. So the sequence function, well, originally I thought it was like, this isn't that impressive. It is a cool formula. All right, we're just going to come back here. Remember this trick that I showed you, that if we want to get all of the items that spill from the array, we use the hash. All right, so let's do our next question here. With poll number 2. Launch this poll. Cell A2 contains a spilling formula. How do you sum all results from the array? Are we just doing the sum of A2, the sum of @ A2, the sum of hash A2, or the sum of A2 hash? Oh, this is so funny. I would have answered this one wrong. I was like, why is everyone getting it wrong? But then I realized that I actually had it backwards. All right, good for you. Paying attention on that particular one. We're up to about 65%. I'll leave it open for a little bit. Next up, we're going to talk about my favorite, the thing that's killing my favorite function, which is VLOOKUP, or those of you that love index and match. They've invented this great new version of lookup to replace both VLOOKUP and index and match, called XLOOKUP. All right, good. We're up to about 76%. Leave that open for another 10 seconds there. Poll number 2. Good. Share the results. So the correct answer is A2 and then the hash sign afterwards to be able to return everything from the array. Okay, good. Let's talk about XLOOKUP. You know, I'm a huge fan of VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP solves so many problems, but VLOOKUP in the wrong hands, VLOOKUP creates some problems. There's people can forget to put the comma false at the end. Some other people will insert things in the middle of the table. And so, you know, a lot of people, especially the index and match folks, they were very vocal about the problems of XLOOKUP, right? VLOOKUP. So again, in Excel, it wasn't in Excel 2019, in Microsoft 365 or Excel 2021, they've given us this new XLOOKUP that has 12 benefits. The benefit, I'm not going to read all these, but just the high points. You no longer have to put comma false at the end. They assume you want comma false. 99% of the time we're doing comma false. If you wanted comma true, you can still get there, but you don't have to specify it, right? So it's shorter now. And in the third argument, instead of saying we wanted column 3 or column 4, we now actually point to the column, which that way when one of our coworkers inserts a new column in the middle of the table, it doesn't break our VLOOKUPs. And you no longer have to use if NA to avoid the NA errors. It's built right in. And for those of you looking for the comma true, the one that's just smaller or just larger, you no longer have to sort, right? So sorting is out. It can do vertical or horizontal, so it replaces HLOOKUP as well. You can search from the bottom, which is amazing. If you need to find the last result or the most recent result, people, for benefit number 7, people didn't even realize that VLOOKUP was using wildcards. So if you're looking at something that had a star, an asterisk, or a question mark in it, you may have been getting the wrong answer, the wrong results. But by far, the one that is just amazing is right here, number 8, that one XLOOKUP will return all 12 months, right? This is the place where when I was arguing, discussing VLOOKUP versus index and match, the index and match people could always beat me when we got to, I need 12 months worth of data, because they would do one match and 12 indexes, and it would run lightning fast, about 13% of the calculation time. And I could never win that argument. But now XLOOKUP just does it just amazingly. All right. So here, let's take a look at our first XLOOKUP. Here I'm looking up W25-6. That's our part number in this nice little table over here. And of course, with VLOOKUP, I would point to the whole table, but I don't have to do that anymore. If I'm trying to get the price, let's see, equal XLOOKUP, I'm looking up A5. And all I do is I point to where those part numbers are. Now I still need an F4 here to lock that down, put the dollar signs in. But then this is the point where in VLOOKUP, I would say I wanted column 3. Yeah, I don't have to do that anymore. I just come out here and point to the prices again, press F4. And with 3 arguments, I've successfully gotten the price. And the advantage to this is now if someone comes along and deletes column M or inserts a new column M, the fact that this is now the 4th column in the table, which would have broken our VLOOKUP, there's no problem because it's still pointing to the right place, right? So that's great. If NA or if error, we used to have to wrap our functions, our VLOOKUP function in that. They now, right here is the 4th argument, have if not found, what to do if it's not found. We can just replace that error, with a nice bit of text or something like that. Double click to copy that down. All right, so nice improvement there. We can still do just smaller or just larger, and it works whether we sort or not. That is now the 5th argument. And just be careful here. For those of you who used match for this previously to find just larger or just smaller, it's backwards. What they used to do in match was if you wanted the value just less than, it was 1. But now the exact match or next smaller item is -1, which actually makes more sense to me, right? But just be aware, for those of you coming from match to XLOOKUP, that's one small change. All right, HLOOKUP, XLOOKUP handles HLOOKUP without a problem. So if the data is going horizontal. Find last, this is cool. This is the 6th argument where you can search first to last, which is what VLOOKUP did, or search last to first. All right, so either of those are going to work. We can control whether wildcards are used or not. They're not turned on by default. Let me get to this one, which is the best one. The biggest problem with VLOOKUP when we had to do 12 months was you had to edit the 2 to change it to a 3 to change it to a 4. Or you had to be a trickster. The tricksters would put the numbers 2 through 13 up here and then point to those. Or they would use the equal column function, which really kind of slowed things down, right? So doing VLOOKUPs, it was definitely a hassle. And this is where the index and match people, they would do one match right there that told us where it was. And then these index functions were just lightning fast, right? And they would always be able to beat us in a race to see whose spreadsheet calculated the fastest. But here's what's just awesome about XLOOKUP. So I'm looking up A308. So XLOOKUP of A308. Where am I looking? I'm looking here in column P, and I'll press F4. This is the amazing part. What do I want to return? I don't want just January. I want everything. Give me all 12 months, and that was Control-Shift right, Control-Shift left. I'll press F4, right? And watch how this one formula now spills all 12 answers, right? And now that I have that in, I'll double click to copy it down. Double click to copy it. That's weird, that's not working. I guess I'd have to drag down, all right? But that is beautiful. One formula returns all 12 answers. And if you think about it, finding where A308 is in this long list, that's what takes the most time. Once it gets there, it's easy for us to just grab all 12 values like that. So I'm a huge fan of getting 12 answers at once. All right, now this one is really obscure, and I probably don't have time to explain it completely. But this is a trick that only XLOOKUP has. Match doesn't have it, XMatch doesn't have it. There had been a short list of 7 functions before: choose, ifs, index, indirect, offset, switch, and now XLOOKUP, that are really weird, and they change their behavior when they're put next to a colon, right? So if I looked up fig using XLOOKUP, the answer is 30. If I looked up orange, the answer is 75, right there, 30 and 75. But when I take that exact same formula and I put a colon just before it or just after it, an amazing thing happens. Here, let's go into formula and evaluate formula. I'll click evaluate a couple of times till we get to right there. There's that first XLOOKUP. This XLOOKUP by all rates should return 30, but because there's a colon there, it's not going to return 30. It's going to return a cell address and say that that cell is found in B9. And then this XLOOKUP, this should be returning 75, right? But it doesn't. It returns B18, which then allows me on the fly to specify a first value that I'm looking for and a last value. Think about cost centers, right? If you needed all of the cost centers from 1000 to 1999, you could build an XLOOKUP that gets everything from the first cost center down to the last cost center and then send it into the sum function, which is pretty cool. These 7 were really obscure. Only the Excel tricksters knew that these existed. And now the XLOOKUP being added to that is a great one. All right, so here, let's go to poll question number 3. And this is one that there is no right answer here. I'm really just interested in what you think is the best of these. Which is your favorite benefit of XLOOKUP? No need to specify false for an exact match. The ability to put the if NA right in without having to wrap it in if NA. Searching from the bottom of the list, or returning all 12 months from one XLOOKUP. Yeah, which is just beautiful, especially in accounting where we're doing 12 months all the time. It is just fantastic. All right, good. Actually, it's good to see answers in all 4 categories, although return all 12 months from one XLOOKUP is far and away the leader with 53% of everybody. All right, I'll give you another few seconds here to jump in the poll and share those results. All right, so 54% were all 12 months from one XLOOKUP. Search from the bottom of the list, 9%. That's funny. In my YouTube channel, I have 2,400 Excel videos. There was exactly one where the person needed to search from the bottom of the list. And it's so funny. I remember after they got the formula from me, the video, they were so happy. They said, hey, we are a horse farm in England. And the next racehorse that's born, we're going to name MrExcel, right? And then as I'm out and Googling myself for the next, like there was a year there where I would Google it, I would get the horse racing results because this horse was racing. So it's good to see that there were 21 of you that have that need. If NA functionality built right in 51, so 23%, and then no need to specify false for an exact match. For the people who don't know to put that false or accidentally leave that false out and start getting the wrong answers, it is just a bad thing. All right. Next up, we're going to talk about these new data types. Now, this, unfortunately, is Microsoft 365 exclusive. So if you're on Excel 2019 or Excel 2021, you won't have this. At home, you'll probably have it, right? If you have, the home edition of Microsoft 365, you can get that. And there's some cool things here. So I'm going to choose these 2 items and back on the data category. I'll say that this is a stock, right? So the little bank symbol here, and they're going to go out and try and figure out what I'm looking for. So always pay attention to the stock exchange that comes back. So this is the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange. If I just put in Microsoft in there, they would say, oh, are you looking for Microsoft traded in Europe, in England, various stock exchanges? So you always want to be careful with that. And then what's interesting is this little symbol here has a card, shows me the current stock price, some information, 52-week high and low, but this little floating thing, what is this? Like, I can't print this. It's going to disappear as soon as I click away from it. But what's awesome about that is I can build a formula that says equal B3 dot price, equal B3.price, and I'll get the current stock price. And I can set this up to update every 5 minutes. It doesn't update at every recalc. That could waste a lot of bandwidth, but you can have it update every 5 minutes, which is cool. Let's see what else it might be in here. I can get the number of employees, what exchange they're on, where their headquarters are. At one point, they had the CEO in there. It looks like that might have the year incorporated. I don't know. It's just kind of a whole collection of weird things. All right, so stocks came out first, and then people said, "Y'all, what would be great is exchange rates," and they snuck them in here using this format, so USD to Canadian dollars. So if I ask for, I can actually declare them as stocks or currencies. Right, so those all worked, and then I'll ask for the current price. So there's my current exchange rates, and that's US dollars to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's in there of all things. You really have to add a whole lot more decimal points, wrong way, to get the Bitcoin exchange rate, right? So those are cool. Now, both of these, though, are only for intraday, right? There's hardly any history. There's the 52-week high and low, but that's not really what we wanted. So about a year and a half after these came out, they gave us a beautiful new function called stock. It's actually right here, stock history. Stock history. Tell you what, let me get rid of this and we'll just build it from scratch. And I'll try and make it a little bit larger here so we can see it. So equals stock history, and I can point to either an exchange rate or a stock. They want to know the start date. So let's just go today minus 1,000. And then the end date is today minus 1. The interval, I can choose daily, weekly, or monthly. Daily, weekly, or monthly. Let's go with weekly. And then what do I want? Definitely want to see the headers. And then you can choose what fields. In this case, I just want to see date and the closing exchange rate for that day. But I could choose high, low, close, volume. And it will take a little bit of time to go back and get that data, but there's 1,000 days worth of historical exchange rates, right? So if you need to go back and do, I don't know, whatever you need to do with exchange rates, the stock history will get you that. All right, so this started out as data types, stocks and geography. Stocks and geography were the first two, and then just recently, especially on the home edition and on the enterprise edition, you have to opt in. They added a whole bunch of new data types from a company called Wolfram. It's a statistical company in England. And you can do all kinds of weird things with these. And the one that I actually found that was useful is I put in Pittsburgh, and I can go into Pittsburgh and get a little map of Pittsburgh, all kinds of information, like what county they're in. I can even get the nicknames. I think they have notable people born in Pittsburgh, so I can get an array of all the people who were born there, Andy Warhol, and so on. But at the bottom, the weather information. So I click on weather and then weather history, and then I can get either daily averages, weekly averages, or monthly averages. And you can get the average high, the average low, how much rainfall you might expect on that day, which if you have, a business that depends, if it's outdoor, you can kind of make some plans as far as the history. Although the gotcha, and I don't want to complain here, we're the only country in the world that uses Fahrenheit, is because Stephen Wolfram is in England, the answers are always coming back in metric. He's a scientist, right? So all of their data is in metric. So while I got these answers out here with mean maximum temperature, I had to then convert them using the convert function, converting from Celsius to Fahrenheit to get that average monthly temperature. The really encouraging thing here about these data types, these are all interesting, but what would be really good is if there was a way to get data types from your own company. And they're working on that. They're working on that right now, where in Power BI, you can define data types. They've announced just last month at the Ignite conference that they're coming out with a JavaScript API where you can pull data from your own website, like your whole product catalog could work like this stuff works, right? And it's still in preview. Actually, it's not even out in beta completely. When that comes out, that is going to be an amazing set of tools. Okay, good. We're down to two big categories here. Show changes. This one is pretty crazy. The show changes feature will allow you to see every change that's been made to a spreadsheet in the last 60 days. Now, in order for this to start working, let me just create a brand new workbook here, and we'll put some stuff. Right now, this workbook is not showing changes. In order to get it to show changes, I have to do File, Save As, and then save it to my OneDrive. I choose OneDrive. And there we are. Okay, as soon as it's been saved to the OneDrive, then any changes I make are being logged and they'll be saved for the next 60 days. Now the history behind this, why are they giving this? At Microsoft, they believe that Excel Online is the next big thing. And they're wrong, right? They're wrong. Why do they believe that? Because their competition, Google Sheets, that 100% of the people using Google Sheets are using Google Sheets Online. And they're like, oh, well, that's going to be the future. No, the people using Google Sheets are using Google Sheets Online because they don't have a Win32. They don't have a Windows version or a Macintosh version of Google Sheets. They have to use Excel Online. And there's also this weird statistic that they're relying on that is just so wrong that if you email someone an Excel spreadsheet and they click on that, it opens in Excel Online. And then very quickly you click, no, save to open in the real Excel, right? But they quote this statistic all the time that, you know, all these people are using Excel Online every day. Well, they don't mean to be using Excel Online. It's that you're tricking them into Excel Online. Now, look, don't trust me, right? Satya Nadella is a lot smarter than I am, and he says that Excel Online is the next big thing. I don't buy it. But they're worried about Excel Online because cell protection doesn't work in Excel Online. So there's no way for you to prevent your coworkers from screwing up your spreadsheets. So what they've done is rather than have the preventative measures, they've given us the ability to see who did what, who changed it. What did it used to be? Let me go back to what it used to be. All right, so that's how show changes work. Now, today, as we're talking about this right now in November, I can't see the changes in this workbook, but I can see them when I go to Excel Online, which is funny. A lot of people have never intentionally been to Excel Online. All right, I'm going to show you in this spreadsheet here because this is an interesting spreadsheet. If I change this number and B4, if I change that quota, it's going to flow to all of these formulas and the bonus level might change. So if I change the quota to 7,000, you'll see that I just recalculated all of these cells. The only thing they're going to log there is the fact that I changed that cell. They don't show me every formula that changes. Just someone went to this cell and either typed something or they changed the formula. So here, someone just put a plug number in to give themselves a 5% extra bonus. Okay, good. Now let's go to a browser. And I'll go to Excel Online, right? So this is the exact same spreadsheet with those same changes I made, updated instantly in real time. So there's the 7,000. And I can even see that the other person using the spreadsheet is out here at cell M4. I can see their initials. Oh, I can hover and see who they are, right? So that's me in Windows editing that cell, or actually I'm in that cell. I'm not editing it yet. The whole cell would change to dark blue if I was editing it. But here in Excel Online on the review tab, we go to show changes. And a panel opens up on the right-hand side showing me everything that's happened in the last 60 days. So someone went to M4, and here I can see that what the formula used to be. How do I make this wider? This is horrible. This is why I hate Excel Online. Okay, well, I can see that someone changed the formula. Boy, that'd be nice if that was wider. Down here in cell B4, it was 7,000. It used to be 15,000. Who changed it? Bill Jelen changed it. Here, it was 3%, used to be 2.5%. That was done an hour ago. Tuesday, someone changed it from 2.5%. You know, you can see the entire history. And you can even, like, who changed this? When did this change? Give me the complete history of this. So right click and show changes there. And so I can see the 1 hour ago, Tuesday and Sunday. Oh, and even before that, Sunday. So it went from 5% to 4%, then to 8%, then to 2.5% with a typo, and then to 3%. All right, so you get a complete history of show changes. This is actually forcing me to Excel Online because right now the only place where they'll show me this is in Excel Online. It's going to come to Windows, but what I really like is that any changes I make in Windows as I'm coming here and doing things, then they're being logged and I can see what happens. Now, there's the danger here that if you send the spreadsheet to someone, you don't want them to see the changes. So as soon as you save as with a new name, all of the changes are wiped out, right? So you can get rid of those changes, but you can also keep them there. All right, good. Let's do our fourth polling question, and then I'll show you a few last tricks here and take any Q&A. So poll question number 4, where can you review changes made to the workbook in the last 60 days? Is it Excel for Windows, you go to the Review tab. In Excel Online, you go to the Insert tab. In Excel Online, you go to the Review tab, or in the basement of the FBI in Washington. That one might be true too. We just don't know. All right. Good, we have almost everyone. Oh, I'm looking over the Q&A while you're doing that. Does show changes work for files saved in SharePoint? It should be those saved in SharePoint Online. As long as it's saved online, you should be good to go. And then, why do my worksheet tabs look so weird? Yeah, this is so, I have no one from Microsoft is here. I just finished writing books, updating 3 books for Office 2021, and no one should be buying Office 2021. We should all be on Microsoft 365. I'll end the poll here. It's the Review tab in Excel Online. And right at the end, like after most of the book had been written, Word leaked out that, oh, they're changing the look and feel of Excel. They're changing the look, and you're going to have to update all your screenshots, which just freaked everyone out. And they leaked this data 4 days before it actually happened. So every day, everyone was going in and update now, update now, update now to try and figure out what had changed. And it turns out that in Windows 11, there's no square corners in Windows 11. There are rounded edges. Right. So what happened is up here at the corner of the ribbon, I don't know if you can see in the top left-hand corner cell, there's that little curve there. And at the bottom, there's a curve, and the name box there has a curve. And the far side of the formula bar has a curve. And then the sheet tabs now have curves, right? And I simply mock this, right? You rounded the curves, that's it. So that's why my sheet tabs look a little bit different than yours. It's these 2 rounded curves. When you get to Windows 11, you should have that, I think. All right, good. All right, a few last little things here. Unselecting cells. We've always had the ability to select multiple items if you hold down Control, right? So that works out great until you accidentally select a cell you didn't mean to select, and then there was no way to undo it. So let's say you're carefully going through, select the first range, Control click the next range, Control click, and you select a cell that you didn't mean. Back in the old days, trying to Control click on not would not unselect it. It actually made the gray darker every time. After 11 clicks, it was completely black. You couldn't see a thing. Well, they've now changed that. You can now Control click to unselect, which is awesome, because that means that you can now do things that you've never been able to do before. Like it was impossible to create that selection, but now it's very easy to create that selection. Right, here's another one. These are things that were requested through the feedback site. There was a great feedback site, and Microsoft just launched a new version of that feedback site. And these were things that people would complain about, and it would get a lot of votes. And then like once a quarter, the Excel team would have a let's try and kill these bugs day, right? So I'm going to come here and I'm going to choose this worksheet and this worksheet and then hide them all. It's always been easy to hide a whole bunch of sheets. That's not impressive at all. That was always easy to do. But then to unhide sheets, it was a major pain, because when you went into Home, Find and Select, no, that's not there. Home, Format, Hide and Unhide, Unhide Sheet. It was you had to unhide them one at a time. So they've now added it to be unhide one or more sheets. So I can unhide all those sheets at once, right? I mean, how hard that couldn't have taken them more than an hour to code that. And it's something that's been driving us insane for so long. Here's another really minor one. So you want to have a picture behind those numbers, but pictures are always on top of the numbers. So you put a picture in to try and liven things up, and now you can't see what's behind there. On the picture format, they added a transparency dropdown. There used to be a trick for this. It was so hard to do, but now you can easily change the transparency. So now I can see the numbers through the picture, but still have the pictures in the back. We have 4 minutes left to go. I put this one in here hoping that I wouldn't have to demo it because it is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I can't believe that they wasted any engineering cycles on this. There's a draw tab that you can turn on in Excel, and it's great for people that have a surface or something like that, right? And they have all these pens, like where you could come here and just, draw something on your spreadsheet. And they added the glitter pen, which the glitter pen. Oh, why can't I draw? The glitter pen. All right, good. They know that I'm making fun of them and they won't let it work. But then what they added was this crazy thing. I'm in some weird mode here. They added this crazy thing called the action pen. And I hope that this was created not in Excel because I can't imagine anyone would ever do this. So I go into the action pen and I can take my pen, where is it? I made a cell really big here. And using the pen, I can draw numbers. And after I pause, they take those numbers and they convert them to real numbers, right? Which is just absolutely insane. And it's funny, it's not working here for some weird reason. And my friend said, well, hey, you're not realizing the right thing. It should be on the iPad. This would be great on the iPad. So I have an iPad and I have Excel on the iPad. And I actually went to the Apple store and paid $100 for the world's most expensive pencil that works with the iPad. And I went to the action pen and it didn't work in the iPad either. So it's just absolutely insane that they added the ability to write numbers in our spreadsheet. And I can't imagine ever doing that. But yeah, we'll see what happens. And then this is a great one for those of you that deal with CSV files. And we have just a minute left, so I'll describe it. Anytime you get a CSV file from someone, you open it, you didn't make any changes at all, and you go to close it, and they nag you. Or even if you go to save it, like so you make some changes and go to save it, Microsoft would nag you. Like, hey, you're going to lose all your formulas and formatting. And I'm like, yeah, I know that. I need to send the CSV file back to somewhere else, right? Well, they've now given us the ability. I think it's under File, Options. This is great. I don't know where it is. Maybe under Advanced or under Save. Right here, show data loss warning when editing CSV files, commented to limited files. So you uncheck that and they will no longer nag you that, hey, this is a CSV file, you're going to lose everything. Like, that, right? You don't need to be told. And even if you say no and then go to close the workbook, they're still going to nag you. Well, now no more nagging about CSV files. So there we go. All right. Well, hey, thank you for taking your time with me today. I think we got most of the Q&A taken care of. Someone wants to know if we can unhide multiple sheets by using the tab. Let me try that real quick. I bet it would work. So I come down here and say unhide. Yes. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And then pros and cons of binary format. Binary format is smaller and it opens faster than the XLSX format. And binary format allows macros. There's a big advantage there. But then you can't crack it open and see the text inside. I don't know why you would ever need to do that. I use XLSX, but if you want to use XLSB, I completely understand. All right, Stephanie, let me throw it back to you.
Thank you, Bill. Lots of good information there. I think you did handle a lot of the Q&A. If there's anything that wasn't answered, Bill, I'll send it your way, and perhaps we could just do some one-on-one outreach and respond to those questions.
Glad to do that.
Okay, great. So this does conclude our webinar for today. We will send a recording of the webinar in the follow-up email tomorrow, so keep a lookout for that. Also, please take a moment to complete our survey after this webinar is ended. And just a reminder, our next MrExcel webinar is in January. So keep a lookout for communication on that. We have a lot of good stuff coming in the next couple months here. Again, thank you for joining us, Bill. Thank you for your time, and we hope everyone has a great rest of their day.